When I mention that some of us take our income tax and go buy cars, somehow I'm down in my people. Instead of you listening to the message and saying, no, he ain't down in you. The motherfucker that tell you the truth is somebody that love you.
What I want to do is take a look at some of Kwame Brown's older material. In fact, in an older video of his, I'm going to break it down into several because it's over 30 minutes, over half an hour. But I want to break it down and kind of examine some of the things he's talking about in that video. I think that number one, he's talking about some really interesting things, some interesting topics, but it also goes to show you that what he's talking about now isn't new. It's not like it's not like he got into a beef with Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, and then suddenly decide, now I'll, talk about social issues and community improvement. This is something he was talking about before. And so this is what we're seeing right now. It's just a continuation of it. And we're seeing him reach new levels of influence because of how much attention is on him. And he's being really smart with it. He's saying, okay, yeah, let's use this beef as an opportunity, as a platform for a bigger message to get something actually accomplished. And I really like the way he's doing that. That's a really smart way to do it. And because what I noticed from a lot of individuals use the drama to promote themselves. So they will get into drama just so that they can promote themselves. And if they're talking about something, even that is just their angle in. Whereas he is literally trying to promote a message as opposed to just himself. And you can see that with how easily and how quickly he's bringing on other people and saying, okay, yeah, let's talk about this. Even he was talking about Boyce Watkins. And even though he's very critical about certain things Boyce Watkins has done and said about him, he's also highlighting certain things Boyce Watkins has said about issues. And he's like, okay, yeah, boom. Like and so I'm like, okay, yeah, this is important, because what's really critical to understand in moving forward is we're going to have to deal with the issues. We're going to have to be honest about the issues, but we're also going to have to be intelligent about the issues. In other words, just talking about problems isn't enough. We have to be talking about and implementing solutions. And there's a lot of people who will only talk about solutions as it relates to giving power to one party or another. No, we need to be implementing solutions from us, for us. And that's one of the things I think is missing right now. But I like that you have individuals like Kwame Brown who are actually talking about that. So let's take a look at this this video he did. It was August 2020, and this is from, and I'll leave a link below because it's from a video about he says you can't trust none of these celebrities. So we'll take a look at that. Okay, here we go. Let's get this started. And I'll be popping in to talk about some of the points he's making.
People are starting to try to, I see a lot of people are trying to combat the things I say with all this blast from the past talk. And here's why I'm going to always sound different than you. And I'm going to try to be as compassionate and calm as I can, because I think we have a bunch of dudes and women now that they take the safe lane. It's easy to jump on this faking like you black and you proud, this Wakanda stuff. It's easy. That's the safe lane to do that. And see, me, I come from that era where we had a big mama. We had that one woman that could tell everybody the truth. And I used to hang with Big Mama. So when I talk, I usually talk like that, not like a woman, because Big Mama was stronger than damn near any man you could be, because men didn't fuck with Big Mama, trust me. So I just find it disheartening that even men that I know, instead of them having enough strength to tell people a message of truth and honesty, we keep jumping on the bandwagon of this weak shit. So Marty, when you talk to me about a bootless man and all this other shit that white folks told you throughout history, pull yourself up by the bootstrap, I'm telling you, I was a child who came from Moncks Corner, South Carolina. I used to run up Prince Street. I stayed on 1404 Prince Street. Go look at my house. You can Google it. It was a shack on bricks. It's still there now. I used to run from there all the way to the park with no shoes on. I used to play basketball all day long in the hot sun with no shoes on. So that shit won't work with me when you talking about you want a shoeless man or a bootless man to pull up by the bootstrap. Motherfucker, I'm him. So we're gonna always talk a little bit different. And when I try to soldier my people up, it's because I don't want to sound like y'all. I want that child that's in that similar situation that I'm in. I want him to not listen, him or her, to not listen to somebody like you. That child, that young lady that's being molested, she don't need to hear somebody like y'all. She need to hear a woman who's gone through that similar situation and persevered through it and became successful. That's why guys like me need to speak more. And some of you, and I'm not going to say you, Marty, but a lot of you people are pandering. A lot of you people are afraid, or you haven't really been through nothing in life. So the only thing that you have is a bunch of regurgitated history. I don't want to talk history because, motherfucker, I'm living proof. All of these athletes, they come from a similar background as me. Most football players, basketball players, whomever else are from the fucking hood.
So I want to point out something. One of the things he says about it's easy to be this black and proud now. Well, number one, he says it's easy to be this black and proud. Number one, that's a relatively recent phenomena, because remember, there was a time where you had to just, if you wanted to be successful in the dominant culture, you had to sublimate blackness, and you couldn't be too black. Like even right now, you can't be too black. You have to operate within certain confines. But right now, the mainstream is trying to pretend to be, and I think it might be like the Obama effect. Since Obama's gone, they're trying to recreate and channel and control feelings of or the direction of the black community. And so what they need is individuals to say, yes, yeah, I'm black, I'm proud, and then advance some other agenda. So they need people to pretend to be about black people, but really they're standing on that square in order to divert that energy, the energy of black improvement, building up the black community, and diverting that energy somewhere else. And Democrats are the ones that's generally doing it, because the Republican Party doesn't want to be associated with that messaging. It's not that there's no conservatives that are, pro-black, proud to be black, but the conservatives that the Republican Party and the tends to promote are those that shun blackness. So it's like he says it's easy. It's easy to pretend. It's not easy to actually be working for legitimate solutions on fixing, helping and uplifting the black community. And then he starts touching on that, because he's talking about how there's this message about, the bootless man, and that tends to be, from what I've seen, a socialist talking point. And you can say socialists, democratic socialists, social democrats. That seems like, because like I've heard AOC specifically say that, and I do think, to speak in those terms, I'm not a fan of that, because when they're speaking in those terms, generally what they're saying is, we need some kind of government program. We need to just shrug our shoulders and hope government does something for us. However, I have to say, because he says, I don't need to hear about history, I think we have to take history into account, because even him, he says, well, I'm him. I'm that bootless man. So he is a part of history. His life story is a part of history. So his life story can serve as a parable, as a instructional, tale. Some life stories are cautionary tales, but these historical events help inform how to move forward, and looking into things into a context of, okay, can that be replicated? Because you got to realize, NBA, how effectively can that be replicated for the vast majority of youth out there? having a successful NBA career, having an NBA career, period. So if there's how many players are in the NBA? What like there's hundreds of people you're talking about, but we've got millions of black people that need inside the black community that need more. So I get what he's saying about not just in fact, here's what I think he should be pointing out: not just cherry picking history, because what people will do is they will cherry pick. They'll go all the way back to slavery and then focus on that and not deal with anything that's happened since then. But we have to deal with what's happened since then, because we can deal with how after slavery, right off the plantation, black people started building. Black Wall Streets were built right after slavery. Black people started pulling their resources. Black people started taking the skills that they had, boom, building. And then we have to take a look, an honest look. But this is why history is important, because if we're not honest, if we're not honest or aware, then we don't realize what the potential obstacles will be, and we won't be prepared to overcome them. So if you take a look at what happened after Black Wall Streets were built up, and you know how this hostility turned into, let's tear these down. And it wasn't just in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It wasn't just in Central Park. It wasn't just in Florida. It was all over the country. In fact, what was that called? The Red Summer, where just all over the country, white mobs were going after Black Wall Streets, Black communities, tearing them down. So being aware of, there's a reason why the Black community is where it's at right now. Ignoring the past, why? Why would you ignore the past? The past gives us a map of how we got here, but we need to know how we can get out. So we have to see how we got here. But if you take a look at something like Tulsa, Oklahoma, you got to realize that even after Tulsa, Oklahoma, after the Tulsa Race Massacre, guess what happened? They rebuilt. And then what happened? Then urban renewal. Then infrastructure building. Then eminent domain. So all of these government programs to help were actually done to completely destroy Black wealth. That's what's important. Because if you remember history and see, so he's advocating for doing for self. And if he looks at history, he'll realize history actually says, yeah, that's why we need to do for self, because we can't trust this government. This government has been the enemy since day one. Since day one, this government has been the enemy since day one. Realizing that, we can say, okay, we need to do this without government. So like right now, Biden's administration, oh yeah, infrastructure, we need infrastructure. We ain't gonna do that Lucy and the football thing again. We're not gonna keep falling for and that's the point. That's why history is so important, because history will let us see the pitfalls. This isn't new. We can see the same game playing out again and say, keep that. We got this. But that's where it is important for what he's talking about, of people that have come from the hood, people that have come from nothing. So you've got brothers like him. You've got brothers like Jay-Z. You've got people out there. And then there's others that have built, that have gone from nothing to millions, but we're not seeing them on TV all the time. And these are the stories, I think, that are even more important, because these individuals aren't just, famous rappers, famous athletes. These are individuals that have started companies, sold real estate, started technology, invented technology. Like, these are the things that more people can participate in. So NBA has limited amount of spots. Even with rap, there's limited numbers of rappers that are being promoted. But if you take a look at things like new technology, the new media presents opportunities for anyone to utilize these and to make a killing. I don't know these young brothers' background. They may come from middle-class families, but I look at RDC World One. Those are some of the most talented brothers those cats, hands down. But would they be known if they had to just wait on, Comedy Central or Disney to decide to give them a show? No, they did it themselves. They're showing their talent. They're funny as hell. They're doing their comedic thing. And now we get to see how much talent is out there, but there's even more talent out there. And now we have means to take advantage of that, where we don't have all of these gatekeepers that stop, that are stopping talent from rising and being manifest. But that's what's important. Like he said, we need individuals that have done it to turn around and say, this way. So I want to go continue because he's got some more stuff.
They made it out through their mindset. So to keep telling children this weak mindset that we do day in and day out, I just have to ask you, what is going to make them try? Because if I was listening to you as a child by saying, oh man, you ain't got no shoes on, you just kept telling me the problem. Oh man, you ain't got no shoes, you ain't got this, you ain't got that. Why would I strive to go get more? You've given me a built-in excuse.
We can't just be talking about problems. We have to be talking about solutions, and not just talking about solutions. We have to actually be providing solutions and implementing solutions.
When I mentioned that some of us take our income tax and go buy cars, somehow I'm down in my people. Instead of you listening to the message and saying, no, he ain't down in you. The motherfucker that tell you the truth is somebody that love you, not somebody that's going to keep telling you it's not your fault. See, that's why a lot of women are in some of the situations that they're in.
Okay, so now I know there are people who will watch this and say, see, that's what Candace Owens does. Nope, that's not what, even Kwame may think that that's what Candace Owens does, but here's the difference between what Kwame's doing and what Candace does. Kwame is talking to the Black community. Candace goes in front of white audiences and talks about the Black community. Candace talks exclusively about almost exclusively about the problems, not providing solutions. Now, Candace will talk about, oh, fatherless homes, blah, 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 fathers need to be there. And people will say, well, what happened? She's, oh, well, because welfare. And then somebody will say, well, what about the war on drugs? And it's like Candace suddenly doesn't hear that. Candace suddenly can't hear that fathers have actually been stripped out of homes by the government in furtherance of this war on drugs, among other things. So because she has an agenda. Her agenda is to promote the Republican a Republican agenda, a Republican plan, and they don't like talking about criminal justice reform, despite the fact that if you want to talk about small government, the war on drugs is not part of small government. But they talk a good game about small government. Very few Republicans actually support that. But that's what I'm saying. The difference in what Kwame's talking about in actually giving advice to the community is different from what he's doing than what she's doing. Because it's like me saying I'm a marriage counselor, and now I'm talking to your friends, I'm talking to your parents, I'm talking to people that you work with about how horrible your marriage is, all the problems that's with your marriage, and then you say, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm a marriage counselor. I'm talking about the problems and what needs to be done in your marriage." And you're like, "Wait, but why are you not talking to me? Why are you taking my business and talking to everybody else about these problems in my marriage, but you're not talking to me?" See, that's the difference. That's a huge difference. See, she's not providing solutions. She's just gossiping, and gossiping and doing this. What Larry Sharp, I like what he said, black man bad, and those are completely different things, completely.
Some of us don't want to hear the truth so much that a guy that'll love up on you and tell you everything ain't your fault. Yeah, it was him, the big man. And then right after they finish telling you that, look at what happens after that. When the pastor tell you, come on, I'm gonna help you. Come on, I'm gonna mentor a husband and a wife. And then that woman end up pregnant by that pastor. See, I'm not into people who talk nice. I'm into people who are truthful, whether it hurt my feelings or not. And some of us done got so fragile that all we want to hear that nothing we do is our fault.
And that doesn't help. So this whole idea of it's everybody else, you're fine. That's not even you don't even want a friend like that. You don't want a friend who's not going to be like, yeah, you know why you keep having relationship problems? You keep doing XYZ, you keep pushing people away, you keep having unrealistic expectations, as opposed to just somebody who's like, oh yeah, it's always them, it's them. But if your friend doesn't tell you the truth, then you can't stop and take a look at something and say, oh, I need to fix that. I need to do things differently. But if you're going to talk about the problems, you have to be providing solutions. But he's right that there are a lot of people who are telling, and this is really big in politics. And the reason why it's big in politics is because politicians have an agenda. Politicians' agenda is give us power. So if they go to you and say, yeah, it's not your fault, it's them, we can save you. That's what they need to tell you, so that you will say, okay, and you'll vote for them, and you'll give them more power over your life, and that they can then, auction away control of your life to the highest bidder. Because that's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because they care about you. They're not doing it because they're actually going to solve your problems. They're doing it because they need more power and control over your life, over our lives, in order so that they can auction it and sell it to the highest bidders. That's their objective.
You can't even have a conversation with somebody and say, yo, bro, okay, yeah, I understand the history. Yeah, you probably can recite it over and over again. But nowadays, we can do better by the decisions that we make. Stop indoctrinating these kids to telling them the problem. We have to find solutions. Throwing money at it has never worked. We can give everybody everything you want, and it's still going to be issues. So to just act like that's the problem, no. I see hate all over the world. You can give money to hate and it's still gonna be hate. There's hate going on right now. It has nothing to do with no motherfucking, well, it's power and money from certain people's side, but just because you give us reparations and all this shit, that's not gonna help nothing, bro. We still gonna be shooting at each other.
Well, I want to point out something he's talking about. So, and it goes into something else he had said, in terms of just throwing money at it and reparations. See, money without the knowledge on how to use the money is useless. So, wow, perfect case in point. I did a story, like I think a week ago, about this guy that won the lottery for $30,000. He got robbed, and he lost. Apparently, he lost the vast majority of that money. But you're wondering, okay, so what? Did they rob his house? No, they robbed his chain, because he won $30,000 in a lottery and spent $20,000 on a chain. $20,000. 66% he spent on a chain. So there are people who, as soon as, and this isn't, and there are people who will make this knock about Black people as if to somehow like intimate that Black people are just stupid. But no, this is financial illiteracy. So in order to learn, financial literacy isn't something, we're not born financially literate. We have to learn it. But if we're going to public school, that's number one, that's something public school doesn't teach. Public school does not teach financial literacy. They don't want to teach financial literacy because they don't want people being financially independent. And if you're dealing with generations of parents who aren't financially literate, the parents can't teach it. The schools aren't teaching it. So how do you have a community that's financially literate if the parents don't know it and the schools aren't teaching it? You won't. So this is not to demean or disrespect or denigrate Black people. This is that financial literacy is something that must be taught. And there's too many of us that don't have financial literacy, so we can't teach it to our kids. And they're definitely not getting in the schools because the schools have no interest in seeing the masses be financially literate. But that's the key. If you're going to talk about money, you've got to be talking about financial literacy as well. Absolutely. It's absolutely imperative.
It's rich motherfuckers right now. FDB Duck or whatever his name is, God bless the dead, he wasn't poor. These rappers and shit, they ain't poor. They still talking about kill a nigga every motherfucking song. So I don't know, when are we gonna stop the bullshit, man?
Well, and that really is like that. These are the labels, the media, like I said, the gatekeepers. So where they're choosing who gets these careers and these record deals, they're choosing people. Okay, we want you to talk about this. We want you to focus on this message. This is what kind of music we want you to put out. If you try to put out positive music, we're not pushing you. But this is the problem of why we need to stop. We need to get rid of these gatekeepers. We need to stop using these gatekeepers, and we need to take advantage of technological advancements as they exist. Because by taking advantage of the technology, we can bypass these gatekeepers and stop the nonsense that they're doing to sell negative messages to our community and to prop up these fake leaders in front of us. Because they're not just doing it in music, they're doing it in politics as well.
Like, I'm not the type that's gonna bullshit with you. I can't. because my life has been so true and so real. I've seen 5 brothers carted off to prison that I lived in the same household with. And I wanted to sell just as many drugs as they did. I did. I wanted to be better than them. I was sitting back watching like, oh, that's how you do it. That's what you do. That's what you do over here. Oh, shoot them niggas over there. Oh, don't let them come over here. Oh, okay. Fuck them niggas over there. Fuck them niggas over there. I learned something horrible. Just like a lot of these kids are learning horrible shit. And the fact that we can't be honest, that kids in the hood are learning horrible shit. I saw women, young girls that didn't listen to their mothers and fathers, that go to safe harbor. I saw grown men bopping up and down on these women at 10 years old on pissy mattresses.
That's something. That's something that a lot of that I don't see being discussed enough. There's scumbag predators in our community, and we have to we have to be willing. Accountability is a must, and that accountability can look several different ways, but that accountability needs to be there. So R. Kelly, is one of these individuals who, if people was just trying to look the other way, yeah, that can't be a thing, because we have to protect these young boys, we have to protect these young girls, and make sure that they have a future ahead of them, and they're not getting derailed by scumbag predators who just have some, just are up to no good. I do want to talk about the drug dealing thing he's talking about. So yeah, you've got these drug dealers and they're out there hustling. I sympathize with drug dealers, absolutely, because among other things, these are capitalists. These are hustlers. These are people that people that want to make money. That see, they like, okay, I want more. I'm not willing to settle for crumbs, and that's part of the problem of what we're offering them. And telling them to just just follow the rules, go to school, get a job. The 47-year plan is not a plan. At least it's not our plan. It's not your plan. It's the plan of the people that are profiting off of our labor. That's who the plan. That's their plan. We need a plan for us. We need a plan for our kids. We need a plan for them so that they can build wealth and live comfortable, successful lives and independent, free lives, so that they're not dependent on a paycheck, just so that they can make rent, next week, paycheck to paycheck, doing this every 52 weeks a year for 47 years and then praying for a pension. That's not a plan. That's not our plan. The 47-year plan is not a plan. So when I see drug dealers out there, I know they want more, and they're right to want more, because what we're offering them, what we're allowing to be offered to them, is insufficient. So we need to be giving them better options, number one. Number two, even if they are going to do, so here's the thing, selling drugs right now is against the law. We need to fight that. Like, no, like, why does the government have the right to control what grown people are putting into their bodies? Why does the government have the right to stop this person from selling something to this person that person wants? This is a way to build wealth if it's allowed. Because why is cocaine illegal but alcohol illegal? Why is marijuana illegal in many places but tobacco is legal? Did I say tobacco the first time? Well, it's because like you have alcohol and tobacco, you've got cocaine and weed. Why are two of these things illegal and two of these things legal? Why? And there's a lot of us that just go with this message. Oh yeah, that's bad because it's illegal. Huh? Why? Like, I'm not going with just because I say so. Uncle Sam said so. I don't give a damn what Uncle Sam says. Adults should be able to choose what they put in their body. And you'll find there will be a lot of people. There's a lot of people right now who recreationally use drugs and still go about their lives. There's some people who let the drugs take over their lives. There's some people who let alcohol and cigarettes take over their lives. There's some people who let sugar take over their lives. These are choices. Don't blame the substance. It's individuals' choices on whether or not they let themselves be controlled by a drug or a substance. So just automatically saying, oh, because there are people that rob to get their next fix. There are people who rob to get fancy clothes. There are people that rob to get nice cars. There are people that rob for a whole bunch of things. There are people that rob for jewelry. Okay. And the act that's bad is the robbery. That's what's bad, not the thing they're buying with it. The thing they're buying with it, hey, that's their choice. So yeah, I think that just automatically demonizing drug dealers is something that the society does, and it shouldn't. Because hey, they're trying to run businesses, and what's interesting is there's this woman that she started a company, a nonprofit, and she was actually training felons on how to run businesses. And she wasn't, and there wasn't a whole lot of training. Basically, what she was doing was she was taking individuals that were running criminal enterprises, and she was like, okay, they already have the skill set. They've been running organizations. They've been managing these profitable organizations, and now we just need to show them how to apply that to the business world. They're prime entrepreneurs. This is, and if you've dealt with hustlers, if you know hustlers, you realize they know how to make money. You can take the drugs away from them, put something else in there, and they will still make money. Drug dealers go to prison. You put if they don't have the drugs, boom, you take food out the kitchen, out the mess hall, boom, put it in front of them. They'll find a way to make money out that. They'll find a way to make money in the law library. They'll find ways to make money because it's an entrepreneurial mindset that just they're driven to succeed, and they're driven to want more, and that's a great thing. So about the violence that's attended to the drug trade, that's because it's illegal. Because if a drug dealer gets his stash stolen, he can't go to the cops and say, "Hey, I was robbed, and boom, this is the descriptions of the individuals that robbed me. Boom, I need y'all to find these individuals and try to track down my drugs." He can't insure the drugs so that even if the cops don't find it, boom, the insurance company compensates him for his lost product. He can't go to court and say, okay, yes, I bought this amount of kilos from this person, and it turns out that the drugs weren't pure. They were cut with flour. They were cut with some unknown substance, some inferior substance, to make it seem like there was more there than it was. And I'm suing him because this isn't the what we agreed to. Like, that's what could happen if this was legal. It's not. So now, in order to deal with when somebody causes them, sells them bad product, when there's thefts, when there's robberies, when there's any kind of disputes in selling the product or any of these things, what's the option? Violence. Because court systems, there's no other alternative being provided to these individuals to resolve these disputes through any other systems.
So I've lived too much of a real life for you to fake with me, man. I have. And so for all these people that are trying to gain political careers and trying to be successful based on guilting white people and making black folks feel like they fault, you're going to end up creating, you're the problem to me. You're going to end up creating more of these situations in the hood. The fact that you can't tell women, stop having these goddamn babies you can't afford. The fact that you can't tell young brothers, take care of your penis and stop getting so many of these young girls pregnant. The fact that you can't say, get a high school diploma. The fact that you can't say, no, getting a job, you won't be able to bling bling and ball and get all these hoes, but you can still take care of yourself. The fact that you won't speak no positivity to people, the only thing that you're gonna do is talk about some history. How does that help you now? Anybody who ever been in a relationship, and we've all been in one and we all made mistakes. How can you move forward if you keep telling me what I've already done?
Okay, so what I think is a great point about individuals, about family planning. Yeah, I mean, and there's this tendency, like it's blasphemy to say, wait a minute. Because, for instance, like they'll say, "Oh, we need pre-K because people can't afford to go to work, and then their kids, nobody's there to watch their kids." Okay, this sounds like something that should have been considered prior to having a child. Now, the point is, it's not to condemn somebody who's in that situation. Things happen, but not to try to not to make any attempts to stop that from continuing to happen. Of saying, hey, people, it's time to start planning your families, to think ahead. Kids are expensive and they require time and attention. So if you don't have the time to devote to them, you don't have the money to provide for them, you don't have the money to give them, food, to get them clothing, to give them, toys, things they want to have to have fun. You don't have the time to spend with them. These are reasons why you might want to not have kids, but not have kids yet. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the kind of messaging that's not being promoted to anybody, because it's because government doesn't want to talk about that. Because government wants to keep saying, the government wants to, like the public schools and we saw that last year in 2020, in the midst of this pandemic, where they were like, oh, where's our babysitters? Because that's what public schools have been operating as babysitting services in exchange for indoctrination. That's another story. But that's the trade-off. But parents haven't been realizing what the trade-off is. Parents haven't been consciously aware of what the trade-off is. But that's what we're talking about. Whereas people are just relying on government to provide for the kids, and nobody, and especially from the political standpoint, nobody's saying no. Like, wait till you get your money right, and then you can take care of kids. Because a bunch of these politicians don't want you to ever be financially secure. They don't ever want you to be in a financial position where you're good. You're not relying on the next paycheck, and then you don't need to work for somebody else when you're financially free, financially independent. But yeah, that's an excellent point. Tell young men, like instead of just looking, oh yeah, she got a big butt. Like, that should not be your sole consideration when choosing if you're going to sleep with this woman. You should think about what happens if this girl gets pregnant. Because even if you're strapping up, even things can happen. What happens if this girl gets pregnant? Is this the type of woman that I want to be connected to for the rest of my life through a child? Ask yourself this question. Young girls, young women, ask yourself the same thing. You may like this dude now, but and this is what parents need to be telling the young ones. Okay, you're maturing, your hormones are going crazy, but think about what, because that's how I was raised, where we to constantly think about, am I ready to be a father? Am I ready for children? Like, that's what you should be looking at. Is this person that I like, that I'm attracted to, that I have feelings for, is this person a great fit, going to be a good fit to start a family with? If you're not even, if these kind of lessons aren't even being taught, then you're setting kids up for failure. Because hey, you could tell kids don't have sex. As they're getting older, things are going to happen. They're going to, like I said, hormones go crazy. And to be a 15-year-old with a child, whether it's, especially if it's a young lady with a 15-year-old with a child, now what can she do? She's still in school, doesn't have the means to provide for that child. Like, she's starting off like at a deficit. There needs to be encouragement, and it's not even about just waiting for government to do this, but like mentorships of really impressing upon our kids, like, no, wait. And it's not about, because you could say, wait, it's wait because a sex should only be between a husband and wife. Sometimes if a child has been raised in a religious household, that might be enough. But if there's a lot of kids that don't have that value set, so now you're going to have to be more practical with them. Do you have the money to raise a kid? Like, do you know how much money it takes to raise a kid? Like, so instead of dealing with just, what the Bible says or something, deal with the practical effects of what the behavior can lead to. Let them know that, so that they can make better choices. And then even 18-year-olds and above, like, just because you're 18 and you're graduated from school doesn't mean you can afford to have a kid. But not only do we need to be telling them, okay, don't have kids until and telling and pushing this message, don't have kids that you can't afford. We need to be making sure that people have a vision to get to a point where they can afford kids, because otherwise it's just saying don't have kids. If I'm saying don't have kids that so you can afford them, and I'm not showing you any way that you will ever be able to afford them, what I'm telling you is don't have kids. So it's a comprehensive message that needs to be going forward, and it's a comprehensive, vision that we need to be providing for young people, and just for the people that are that are thinking about starting families, so that they have a better shot at having a successful life, and their kids have a better shot. So this was this in clearly this in the whole video. He goes into more, but I'm doing this because, as you can see, the commentary around this, I couldn't just do this all in one video. So this is part one, but I'll be back to discuss some more of this episode. As always, subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of commentary where I'm talking about actual solutions, actually doing things designed to help and improve, and not just listening to what the mainstream says, to what's the approved messages. If you agree with that, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.